everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, and you are watching the CD Junkie. This episode, CD Junkie, all Beatles, and Total Beatles. There's a lot of talk. You know, this is 2025, and it's the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul and Help. So people are wondering, are we going to get those box sets this year? You know, the remixes with outtakes and all that kind of stuff crammed into this big, heavy box. It costs a lot of money. You know, will we get them together? Will we get them separately? You know, will there be a box that says 1965 on the outside of it and just feature all this great, wonderful stuff that came out in the year 1965? Or, as some speculate, will we be getting an expanded, updated, and remastered version of the Beatles anthology? The book is being reissued this year, or repressed. I believe it is updated and expanded. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the rumor. Well, I've got some speculation myself. I've worked in the music business, the music industry, for roughly about 40 years now. So I do know some people. So, hello. Can you give me info on whatever's happening with the Beatles? That's right. Nobody picked up the phone. I was just talking to a busy signal. But at least I got to hold my phone up. Nobody under the age of 50 gets this anyway. But I have speculation on what is coming in 2025. These are going to be releases. Most of them are going to be Record Store Day, you know, Black Friday Record Store Day. But this is what's happening. First off, there is going to be a collection of unreleased Beatles tracks that they recorded right after Magical Mystery Tour, but before the White Album, because they felt that Magical Mystery Tour, the movie, was just going to be a tremendous hit, and they just wanted to get a jump on it. So they recorded an album called The Majestic and Magical Mirrored Bicycle. And if you look at this album cover, this is when John Lennon was going through his Kenny Loggins phase. You know, he would do that on occasion. He went through a John Sebastian phase. If you watch the video to Hey Bulldog, and he's got the John Sebastian. But this was definitely him going through his Kenny Loggins phase. So that's a collection of unreleased recordings that nobody knew about. But there's also some great compilations that are... Do I want to say that these are actually really coming out, or do I just want to say this is all fake? No, I'm going to say it's... The next album that I've heard is coming out by the Beatles is called Silly Songs for Truck Drivers. It's just a collection of some of the Beatles songs that could be interpreted as silly songs for truck drivers, such as, I don't know the track listing. But another Beatles thing that's scheduled to be released, which is really, really exciting, is a collection for older people. So it's got more mellow songs and kind of trippy songs too. And it's called My First Post-Colonoscopy Beatles Album. And this is an album to listen to after you've had a colonoscopy. Now, a sexy Beatles album is coming out. And everybody always associates the Beatles with sexy. You know, some of their sexy songs like, you know, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's called Stripping to the Fab Four. And that looks like it's really going to be exciting. Is this really coming out in 2025? I don't know. It might. This one might be 2026. I'm not 100% sure. Another one that's really super exciting. This was actually recorded right after Abbey Road. Actually, all four Beatles were involved in it, and it's called The Beatles Sing the Hits of the Brady Kids. And, you know, you've got Time to Change. You've got the theme to the Brady Bunch. So many of your favorite Brady Kid songs all performed by the Beatles. And just, I mean, imagine, you know, I've heard 3 songs from it, and during the Time to Change, Paul's using his like, oh, darling voice. Oh, it's incredible. It's very powerful, very emotional and powerful. And then, of course, that reunion album that we never got, they actually did record it. The Beatles did get together in 1976 for about 3 weeks, and they laid down some songs. It wasn't new material. They just figured, people just want to hear the old Beatles hits, but they also want to dance. So the Beatles disco album is also coming in 2025. Ooh, that sounds like it's a whole lot of fun. I know some people go, well, I don't want the Beatles. I want a George album. You know, there's always cool George things coming out every year. And I want a Paul thing. Guess what? There's solo stuff coming too. Let's start with George. George has 2 albums coming this year. One of them is called George Harrison and His Stupid Sitars. And that's really, really good. Now, everybody knows the Traveling Wilburys. Well, before that project came to be, George Harrison was in L.A. He was working on a different project, sort of a supergroup project. It was George Harrison and the Doobie Brothers featuring Michael McDonald. They didn't have time to do any overdubs, so the album was never released. But it's a smoking album. It is awesome. Let's go to Ringo. Now, Ringo's got 2 releases. He's got a CD coming and he's got a DVD coming. The first one is called Don't Pass Me By and Other Mediocre Ringo Songs, which features some of his Beatles tracks like Boys, Don't Pass Me By, and pretty much all of side 2 of Ringo the Fourth, from his solo career. And it just really, really, really neat collection of songs. He's also got a DVD coming out. He was the original celebrity to take a trip into outer space, courtesy of Jeff Bezos' Wiener rocket ships. And he's putting out a DVD of that whole project where he is actually shot into space and he performs a medley of Little Richard songs. And that is called Ringo Starr in Outer Space. And that's really, really fun. If you haven't seen that on YouTube, definitely check it. No, they actually pulled that down off of YouTube because they're releasing it here. Well, John Lennon has 2 albums coming. One of them was an album he recorded towards the end of the Beatles. This was when he came over to Toronto to record the, that Live Peace in Toronto album, with that super group. He actually got together with some local musicians and he recorded an album that was never released. And the name of the album and the band is John Lennon and the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bucket Band. And those recordings are finally coming, which is fantastic. And John Lennon was also a big fan of the Chipmunks sing the Beatles hits, and he decided he had to record with them. So around the time he was recording Double Fantasy, he actually went into the studio and recorded a whole album with the Chipmunks. And that album's finally coming out. I think some of the Cheap Trick guys are on this album too, because they were, they're all in the studio at the same time. Now, that's it with the John stuff. And finally, we got Paul. We've got three Paul releases that are supposed to be coming this year. Are any of these really going to be coming out? I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait. But the 3 Paul McCartney albums that are coming out, the first one, fascinating. It's one of his artsy-fartsy avant-garde albums, and it's called Paul McCartney Sings The Residents. That's right. Paul McCartney Sings The Residents. So you're going to get songs like Harry the Head. You're going to get, what else does he do on this album? Hello Skinny. He does Walter Westinghouse. Yeah, it's a really, really cool collection. Another one, it was originally supposed to be a children's album, but it's a little bit more rocky than you'd expect. It's a collection of unreleased tracks from throughout his career, but they all have a basic theme to them. And the album is called Silly Songs About Gophers. And finally, the final McCartney thing, everyone thought that he was in the studio working on McCartney 4, but no, he was in the studio working on a very special album called Paul McCartney and Kid Rock Sing Today's Country Hits. Bingo! Boom, boom, hello! This is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great year for Beatles releases. What do you think? You think any of these are going to happen? They might hold them off till 2026. I don't know. But there's just going to be just this great flow of Beatles releases that probably won't come out. I mean, they probably will come out. I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.